Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Education, the most studious committee in the Nevada State Legislature. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members De Silva, Dahlia, DeLong, Flanagan, Hanson, Hardy, Hunt, Koenig, LaRue Hatch, Mosca, Orentlicker, and Chair Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lindsley. Can you please mark Assembly Member Flanagan absent, excused, and present when she arrives? Welcome to the audience here in Carson City and those joining us in a very full room in Las Vegas, as well as our YouTube subscribers. Thank you for continuing to follow our channel. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you have not already. I don't know what you're waiting for. Couple housekeeping items. Please remember to silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name, spell your name, state your affiliation, if any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. Handout should have already been provided to the committee staff. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we do not agree with another person's position. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Obviously, we have many bills with the deadline now past us and another deadline quickly approaching. So members, including myself, may be out throughout the hearing to present pieces of legislation to other committees. So please do not view this as a sign of disrespect. It's just a part of this legislative process that members will have to go present their pieces of legislation and attend those meetings as necessary. At this time, we will go ahead and start with the work session. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Lower.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. As a reminder, as nonpartisan staff, I may neither support nor oppose any measure before the committee. The first item on work session is Assembly Bill 164, which revises provisions relating to the account for student indemnification. This is sponsored by Assemblymember O'Neill. The committee heard this bill on March 6th. Assembly Bill 164 increases the account for student indemnification balance limit from $250,000 to $750,000, exempting institutions from paying certain fees above this limit. There are no amendments for this measure.
Members, at this time, we'll go ahead and I will accept a motion to do pass AB 164. I have the motion from Assemblymember Mosca, and I'll take the second from Assemblymember Dahlia. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? This motion does pass unanimously. And so we will assign the floor statement to Assemblymember O'Neill. We'll go ahead and proceed with AB 212.
Thank you, Chair. The next item on work session is Assembly Bill 212, which revises provisions relating to early childhood education. This is sponsored by Assemblymember Monroe Moreno, and the committee heard this bill on March 13th. Assembly Bill 212 renames the virtual Early Childhood Family Engagement Pilot Program by removing pilot from the name and extends the deadlines for submitting required reports to the Department of Health and Human Services, or DHHS, and the Joint Interim Standing Committees on Education and Health and Human Services through 2027. The bill removes the requirement that the program administrator limit digital screen time for children who are 4 years of age as recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Lastly, this bill appropriates $1 million for each year of the 2025-2027 biennium to DHHS to implement the program. Assemblymember Monroe Moreno proposed an amendment retaining the provisions removed by this bill, which ensure a child is required by the program not to use a screen longer than the maximum recommended screen time for a 4-year-old child.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions in regards to the amendment? At this time, I will accept a motion to amend and do pass. I have the motion from Vice Chair De Silva, and I have the second, can you raise your hand, from Assemblymember Hunt. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and pass unanimously. We will proceed with AB 217. Oh, I apologize. And we'll go ahead and assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Monroe Moreno, but I'm sure it'll make its way to Waze first.
The next item Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. The next item on work session is Assembly Bill 217, which revises provisions relating to law enforcement on school property. This is sponsored by Assemblymember Gonzalez. The committee heard this bill on February 25th. Assembly Bill 217 establishes provisions relating to the presence of certain federal officials and the use of a chemical agent or electronic stun device by certain school police officers against a pupil or minor on school grounds. This bill prohibits a school district, public school, or any employee from granting access to the grounds, facilities, or buildings of a school district or public school to certain federal officials engaging in the investigation or enforcement of immigration laws without a lawfully issued warrant or court order. This bill prohibits a school district, public school, or an employee of such from disclosing in any manner information about a pupil or the family of a pupil to certain federal officials. This bill specifies that any person who knowingly and willingly violates these provisions is guilty of a misdemeanor. There are two amendments proposed for this measure. Assemblymember Gonzalez proposed an amendment to delete Section 2 of the bill relating to the use of chemical agents and electronic stun devices by school police officers against pupils or minors and requiring reports and investigations after the use of such chemicals and devices. The Nevada Association of School Boards, Tom Clark Solutions, proposed an amendment to Section 1, subsection 3 of the bill. For the first documented offense, any person who knowingly and willingly violates the provisions of Section 1 will be disciplined under the discretion of each school district. For all repeated offenses, a person is guilty of a misdemeanor.
Members, any questions? I don't have a question, but I just want to clarify for the record that all language regarding stun devices has been taken out and that this piece of legislation at this time just pertains to the interactions with ICE on school campuses. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, that is correct.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a motion to amend and do pass. I have the motion from Assemblymember Dahlia and I have the second from Assemblymember Hunt. Any discussion? Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm thankful for the amendments, deleting Section 2 and then the one from the Association of School Boards, clarifying some language and giving discretion to the school districts. I do want to say that I am going to be a yes in committee because at this point in time, it appears that now the bill is really just reaffirming and codifying what has existed in since 1974 during the Ford administration, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, known as FERPA. And so just for the record, to make sure that I'm understanding that this is what the bill is doing, according to that FERPA Act, as has it existed since 1974, it protects the privacy of student education records and restricts the sharing of personal identifiable information. This includes data that could reveal a student's immigration status. Schools are also not allowed to share student records with immigration or law enforcement agencies without a subpoena, parental consent, or a judicial order. ICE officials must, and always need to have a judicial warrant to carry out their work, and district policy requires parental consent before law enforcement can interview any student. So since it appears that we're just kind of codifying, again, that protection, I can be a yes in committee. Thank you.
Okay. Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson, for those details. I appreciate that. My concern with the bill, and I will be a no on this, is because there's a chance that federal law could change in the future, and thus we set up a situation where no matter what a school official does, they're going to be in violation of one law or another, and I don't want to put anyone in that position.
Thank you. And just a reminder to the committee, federal law can change at any point, and our state laws could be a violation of federal law at any point. But we do appreciate that concern. At this time, we'll, because we have accepted the motion to amend and do pass, at this time, I don't see any further discussion. But we will go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. I have one nay from Assemblymember DeLong. And this motion does pass. And we will go ahead and assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Gonzalez. We'll proceed with AB 286.
Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. The next measure before the committee on work session is Assembly Bill 286, which provides for a pilot program to assess the competency of applicants for a license to teach through alternative assessment methods. This is sponsored by Assemblymember Torres Fawcett, and the committee heard this bill on March 13th. Assembly Bill 286 creates a pilot program for alternative teaching licensure at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. The bill sets forth the program participant composition, curriculum requirements, and participant evaluations. The bill requires reporting related to participant demographics and preliminary findings of the pilot program to be submitted to the Legislative Council Bureau for distribution to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education by July 1 each year of operation. Additionally, program operators must submit a plan to Nevada's Department of Education 6 months after ceasing operations concerning the metrics of success for the pilot program and permanent program implementation. Applicants for an initial license to teach are exempted from the requirement to pass a competency-based test in basic reading, writing, and mathematics upon successful completion of the pilot program. Finally, the bill appropriates $1 million to UNLV to develop and operate the pilot program. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett proposed the following amendments concerning certain provisions of the pilot program. The amendment clarifies that pilot program participants are exempt from the requirement to complete the praxis principles of learning and teaching, permits any Nevada System of Higher Education or NSHE institution to create a pilot program offering an alternative pathway to teaching licensure, clarifies that the pilot program may have 100 participants per academic year, eliminates participant selection requirements as described in the bill, and specifies that NSHE institutions may not impose residency restrictions on program participants if participants reside and teach in Nevada, provides participants must hold either a provisional or substitute teaching license, directs all participating NSHE institutions to submit the required reports and plans, removes the appropriation to UNLV, and establishes a sunset clause terminating the program on July 1, 2029.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions in regard to the amendments? At this time, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass. I have the motion from Assemblymember Mosca. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Hardy. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and pass unanimously. I'll assign the floor statement to myself. At this time, we will go ahead and proceed with the next item on our agenda. Our work session at this time is now closed. We will go ahead and open the hearing on AB 153. Assemblymember, please begin with your ready, and welcome to Assemblymember Miller Day.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a while since I've been here, so. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. I am Brittany Miller, representing Assembly District 5. Today I'm presenting Assembly Bill 153, which revises provisions relating to the education of incarcerated persons. Sustainable, gainful employment plays a crucial role in reducing recidivism and facilitating the successful reintegration of incarcerated individuals into society. So much, in fact, that before I moved to Nevada, I had developed and managed a highly successful prisoner reentry program. What folks didn't realize is that the prisoner reentry program was about 20 to 25% of the funding was from the Michigan DOJ, but the majority of funding actually came from the U.S. Department of Labor. Why the U.S. Department of Labor? Because employment is key. And we know that there's one major factor that leads to job opportunities, and that's education and training. By equipping these individuals with knowledge and skills, educational programs within correctional facilities significantly improve their prospects upon release. In Nevada, the statewide program of education for incarcerated persons allows school districts, in cooperation with the Department of Corrections, to operate these programs within correctional facilities. Historically, incarcerated individuals had had limited access to federal student aid. However, recent changes at the federal level have opened new doors. As of July 2023, incarcerated students enrolled in improved prison education programs are now, again, for the first time since 1994, eligible to receive Pell Grants, which do not require repayment. Individuals are not eligible, however, for federal student loans. This change, implemented through the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA as we refer to, the FAFSA Simplification Act of 2020, has the potential to dramatically increase educational opportunities for incarcerated individuals. One of the keys to success of the program that I directed back in Michigan was that we knew that the reentry process does not start upon release. It begins while in prison, preparing for release. And among a variety of needs and services, education is one that individuals can begin working on while still incarcerated. We do this so that they are prepared to obtain certain jobs upon release. As for the bill summary, before I discuss the components of the bill, I would like to apologize for not meeting deadline. As many of you know, sometimes amendments are still going late into the hours before the hearing. So with that, I did email members directly the proposed amendments, as well as I have copies, Chair, over on the table for the public. So with that, I will be working off of the conceptual amendment. First, this measure follows my bill from the 2021 session, which was AB 235, which, among other things, required school districts of over 100,000 students to provide at least 2 FAFSA nights, and districts, charters, and private schools under 100,000 that operate a high school to provide at least 1 FAFSA night each year. The goal was to provide assistance in collaboration with colleges, universities, their staff, for families to complete the FAFSA application on-site when needed. In other words, to open up the schools to enable parents to come in with their paperwork and gain assistance to complete the FAFSA application, which is now pretty complicated. And of course, the added bonus, if parents want to fill out a FAFSA application for themselves, so be it. However, as stated in the amendments for Assembly Bill 153, I have actually removed the responsibility and the role of the K through 12 schools that is currently written in the bill. I have removed them because what this bill is aiming for can actually be administered within the correctional facilities with their current staff. While the bill does seek 2 FAFSA events each year as well, the bill is permissive in nature in order to allow each facility to plan and administer such events in the manner that is most suitable. First, each facility, if they're not already doing so, should provide career planning that includes information about financial aid, what it can cover, and by that we mean dissolve the misconception that financial aid is just for college. We know that it also includes vocational and training programs as well, which is often a block to some people because they don't believe they can apply for it for other trade and vocational programs. And also that within the facilities, they are provided the information that they will receive services and assistance to actually apply for FAFSA. Individuals should receive this at least in their final year prior to release or once a parole date has been determined. However, it can be ongoing and there is no restriction to how early or when individuals can be provided such information or the ability to access the application. Similar to this, they will need assistance with applying for online schools or training. Facilities should also establish a means for family members who are on approved visitation lists to bring necessary documents that can assist with the application and may attend FAFSA application events. And of course, this measure encourages coordination with our colleges, universities, and or our library district to assist with applications, informational meetings, registration, pamphlets, and other educational or training or job training. The amendment does outline an existing process that is currently being used between the Department of Corrections and Great Basin College. We are using that as the model for the administration of the financial awards. In other words, once a determination for student eligibility has been made, a financial award, now typically for most students, that financial award does consider living expenses. For incarcerated individuals, it does not. It will just pertain to books and other course expenses. Once that is determined and the student is enrolled in the class, the cost of tuition, fees, books, and any other required materials will be charged to the student account at the college. The financial aid administrator at the college pays the student account balance electronically, and if there is any money left in the student's award, unlike other students who may receive a refund, in this case, the funds are returned back to the Department of Education. Additionally, the amendment clarifies that financial aid cannot be used for non-educational expenses, such as restitution, commissary, damages, medical, technology, and so on. Also, for those incarcerated, we do not want applying for or seeking financial aid to be used as any kind of sanction or incentive. In closing, Assembly Bill 153 represents a significant step toward enhancing educational opportunities for our incarcerated individuals in Nevada. By facilitating access to federal student aid and ensuring compliance with established education standards, this bill aims to empower incarcerated persons to pursue higher education and vocational training. Such initiatives not only benefit the individuals involved, but also contribute to the betterment of society by reducing recidivism and promoting successful integration. According to the National Conference on State Legislatures, currently 17 states have no regulatory or statutory ban on people who are incarcerated receiving state aid. In fact, New Jersey also recently expanded their access. The implementation of AB 153 underscores Nevada's commitment to and alignment with other states doing what's necessary to reduce recidivism by providing equitable education opportunities for all of its residents, including those who are in correctional facilities. Moreover, it's important that while supporting individuals with reentry, it is a public safety matter. It is also a prime opportunity to lessen financial burdens on the state. Part of the reason I brought that first bill back in 2 sessions ago was because it was to encourage more students and more adults to apply for financial aid in order to lessen our state's financial obligation. Again, workforce development is key for reentry, and this provides a more individualized approach while assessing federal support. With that, Chair and members, I appreciate your consideration on this measure, and I am open to questions.
At this time, members, I'm open to any questions. Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member, for this bill. I was really interested, and I'm glad you talked about how Great Basin College currently does it. Would love to just kind of hear about that and how it's going over there.
If the Deputy Director of Corrections is here, I know, okay, I will let her speak on that.
Emily Testweed, Testwuide, Deputy Director of Programs for the Department of Correction, for the record. And for your question, or just to clarify your question,
Yes, thank you. Just how's the program going? Maybe how many people are taking advantage of it?
absolutely. Second. Currently at Lovelock Correctional Center, GBC is operating the only Pell-approved PEP program, prison education program. We currently have 54 students enrolled this semester, and 52 are on Pell Grants. There are new student admission workshops currently happening this week, and there are 74 individuals from the wait list completing applications for FAFSA as of now. There are 31 other individuals on the wait list, but do not reside in eligible housing at this time, and we expect 52 of the current students to continue in the program over the next year. Other data points I would definitely want to get back to this committee with, but that is what I have here so far.
Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. And my question, if you could just please clarify to the deputy, I'm sorry, you probably want to get away from that table. I understand. You're doing great. I was taking notes. Can you just clarify, you said 52 of the 54 are on Pell Grants at Lovelock. And then you mentioned 74 applicants are on a waiting list, but can you clarify to me with the 74? Where are they? They're on a waiting list. Oh, so those are in Lovelock as well. Okay, thank you.
I apologize. Ma'am, could you please click your mic and respond to the question? Thank you. And state your name again for the
Emily
record.
Testude for the record. Those individuals are currently at Lovelock.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Miller, for bringing this bill. I think it's a great step towards making sure that everybody is able to access an education, and also that next step, in regards to college. So my question is, in your vision, how do you see the mechanics playing out, like in terms of how these programs will be rolled out in all of our institutions throughout the state? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. This is Brittany Miller for the record. With that, and this is a main reason why the bill is permissive, because when we are talking about prisons, obviously, first and foremost, is safety, right? Safety for everyone there that's incarcerated, as well as safety for our staff. And every prison is a different size, has a different staffing model, has different levels of security, or individuals that are there based on their offenses. So it's really important to give that flexibility for each facility to tailor the program to what fits them. Unlike when the bill for the high schools, which could be more regimented, which was basically, this is what you're going to do. So in discussions with Director Zarenda, it has been, I say a FAFSA night. Maybe in some situations that works and the reason why it's twice a year is because those are near the two dates where more money is available to get. But maybe in some situations it works to have an evening or a day program where everyone's pulled in together as a group, and the counselors or the educators there are able to assist people. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe it works better in some cases where we do it online, and maybe university staff's able to come in and physically assist, or maybe they assist online. The goal is to ensure that people are getting information and assistance with filling out the applications. So how that is done can be tailored to each, as long as basically kind of those standards are met. But again, that flexibility is available because, again, it's a different environment.
Thank you, Amit. And I'm just going to ask a question, because what I'm hearing you say is that the intent is for this piece of legislation to be permissive, but the language that I'm seeing in front of me is not permissive. So can you, because I see that the programming staff with the corrections on the amendment will provide, and so that would require them to do it. And then it also says that the FAFSA application assistance can be ongoing, but shall. And so I'm just trying to understand what is the expectation of what must happen and what is permissive.
Thank you for that question, Chair. And that's a good clarifying question. The requirement will be that the information is provided and that assistance is given to those who desire to apply for the application. It is not required that everyone who's incarcerated applies or participates. It's just required that that information is provided, that this service is available to them. I'm not kidding.
Okay, thank you. I think that helps also clarify some of what I was reading. I guess my follow-up question to that then is the intent, and I'm just reading this in conjunction with the other piece of the actual bill that I have in front of me with the amendment, right? And who is the intended audience of this piece of legislation? Because in the original legislation, it would have been students in a K-12 setting. Is the intent of this only then adult inmates, or is it students in juvenile facilities? Because I had conversations with others that thought the intent was for this to capture juveniles. So I'm just trying to understand who the audience is.
Thank you. Brittany Miller for the record. The intent is to capture the adults who are incarcerated, but most certainly can include those that in a juveniles facilities as well.
Members, any additional questions? I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much for the presentation. As we have done with other pieces of legislation, we will hear 20 minutes of support, and then we will go to 20 minutes of opposition and 20 minutes neutral if such an audience or desire of the public exists. Every speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. I do ask that any speaker please state and spell your name for the record, as well as stating your affiliation. At this time, I invite anyone wishing to testify in support of AB 153. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Nick Shepak, Nickshpack. I am the Nevada State Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. The Nevada Fines and Fees Justice Center is a proud partner with NPEP, the Nevada Prison Education Program, who are doing absolutely amazing things inside our prisons, setting people up for success upon release. FAFSA is extremely difficult to navigate. As someone who struggled with it for many years myself, I can attest. Having one of these nights or these types of events inside prisons and that kind of help will ensure that our incarcerated populations have access to education that not only benefits them, but benefits our whole communities, and we strongly support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. That's Tomclark. I'm here on behalf of both the Nevada Association of School Boards and the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce. From the school board's perspective, we very much appreciate the amendment. From the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce perspective, one of our number one priorities this legislative session is workforce development. We don't really care where that workforce development comes from, whether it's an incarcerated person who's looking to do something better with their lives by getting into the trades or getting into a college degree, and to find out while you're incarcerated that there are opportunities through FAFSA and others to get some funding to do that, we think is fantastic. As a father of a 17-year-old, I'm very happy I didn't have to fill out the FAFSA form. I got 2 pages into it and was told I didn't have to, and said, thank goodness, because it is complicated, and some level of direction is needed for anybody that's trying to fill that out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Amanda Brazo here on behalf of Western Nevada College. We wanted to let you know that WNC has maintained a prison education program here in Carson City for many years. We're supportive of AB 153 and want to support increasing access to prison education. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jody Hocking. I'm the Executive Director of Return Strong. We are an organization that represents incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people, and I just want to echo for a lot of our people, I remember once stopping and asking somebody like, why didn't you fill out a pardons board application? Why didn't you? And they're like, there are so many of us that don't have beyond a 6th, 7th, 8th grade education. My husband did not, he dropped out of high school, or dropped out of middle school really in 8th grade. He got his high school, his GED and his high school diploma while he was in prison. But when you put paperwork like that in front of him, he's never furthered his education, not because he couldn't do it, but getting through those paperwork he's never filed taxes. He doesn't know what the questions are that they're asking him. And so we're in support of this bill, just as him as one example, but also for the thousands of people that we represent inside of Nevada Department of Corrections. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Angela Knott from the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, ANGELA KNOTT. We are in support of AB 153, allowing those who are incarcerated easier access to FAFSA and educational programs is critical for both the individual and the community. Education is one of the most effective ways to reduce recidivism. A study shows that inmates who participate in correctional education programs had a 43% lower odds of recidivism than those who did not. So this not only benefits the individual, but it benefits the community at large. If we can stop the recycling of the criminals in our system, everybody wins. And education is one of the best ways to do that. We support AB 153.
Good afternoon, Paloma Guerrero, PALOMAGUERERO, on behalf of the Clark County Public Defender's Office, Strong Ditto.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the most studious, am I saying that right, committee here in the Nevada State Legislature. I'm Dr. Lawrence Weekly, Lawrence, Weekly, Weekly, with the College of Southern Nevada. We're here today to show our support for AB 153, and we thank you all for your work, and we thank you for your representation here on behalf of the citizens of the state of Nevada. Thank you all.
Seeing no one else wishing to testify on AB 153 here in Carson City and no one in Las Vegas, ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 153?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now. Caller with the last 3 digits, 917, please press star 6 to unmute your phone. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Committee on Education. My name is Ashley Dodson, for the record, ASHLEY DODSON of Anchor Perspectives, calling on behalf of the NAACP Las Vegas branch number 1111 in strong support of Assembly Bill 153. AB 153 takes a bold and necessary step toward dismantling systemic barriers by ensuring that incarcerated individuals enrolled in educational programs receive assistance with completing the FAFSA. This bill not only promotes access to higher education, but also acknowledges the humanity, potential, and worth of those currently navigating our justice system. Too often, incarceration becomes a cycle fueled by poverty, limited opportunity, and lack of access to resources. By requiring school districts to provide FAFSA support and hold annual events focused on educational access with correctional facilities, AB 153 offers a bridge toward rehabilitation, self-sufficiency, and reintegration. We commend Assemblywoman Miller for her leadership and urge this committee to pass AB 153. Let us be a state that leads with empathy and invest in the transformation power of education for every individual, regardless of their circumstance. Thank you.
Doug Unger, DOUG, UNGER, President, UNLV Chapter, Nevada Faculty Alliance, and member, Nevada Prison Education Project. The Nevada Prison Education Project is an independent organization that includes teachers from colleges and universities in the Nevada system of higher education, community groups, justice-impacted students, and the Nevada Department of Corrections. We all work together to improve and expand prison education in our state. Our teachers currently work with higher education prison ed programs through Western Nevada College, the College of Southern Nevada, Great Basin College, and other NG institutions, now also UNLV. Any given semester, we have between 350 and 375 registered students. WNC and CSN do have outreach professionals who inform about and assist with financial aid planning in the FAFSA forms, but this financial aid support, which too often presents obstacles for the justice impacted, needs additional organization and resources. AB 153 offers a solution by further systematizing these efforts, all of which can help significantly to grow pathways toward earning an education for the incarcerated. The Nevada Prison Education Project and the Nevada Faculty Alliance stand in support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Chandler Cooks, ChandlerCooks, and I'm in support of AB 153. According to the RAND Corporation, incarcerated individuals who participate in educational programs are 43% less likely to return to prison. And that's not speculation, that's hard evidence. And yet too many of these individuals never even get the chance to pursue higher education simply because they can't access financial tools like FAFSA. AB 153 changes that and ensures that every incarcerated student enrolled in a high school level course gets the same access to FAFSA support as their peers in traditional schools. More importantly, it mandates the tracking of this outreach, creating transparency and accountability that can drive real progress. And for many without FAFSA assistance, higher education and vocational opportunities become a closed door. We know that every dollar invested in prison education saves $4 to $5 in reincarceration costs. FAFSA is more than a form. For some, it's a lifeline, and AB 153 ensures that lifeline reaches those who need it most. This bill is not just a moral one, it's a fiscal one too. And if we're serious about breaking cycles of incarceration, we have to be just as serious about opening up cycles of opportunity. That begins with access to financial aid. And when we give someone the chance to fill out a FAFSA, we give them the chance to fulfill a new future. So I urge you to support AB 153. Thank you.
Chair, there are no other callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 153. I do not see any here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 153?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to testify in neutral. I see none here in Carson City. Oh, please, when you're ready. And if there's anyone in Las Vegas, please approach now. Thank you.
Thank you. Penny Brock, P-E-N-N-Y-B-R-O-C-K. I'm from Washoe County. In the 90s, I was a state director for the National Right to Read Foundation. What we found, based on a lot of research, that a lot of people go to prison or juvie hall because they cannot read. They found that if that population learned to read by intensive systematic phonics, very few returned to the prison or juvie population. So I would hope that this Pell Grant, whatever they want to do, will have a strong emphasis on teaching reading by intensive systematic phonics. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't see anybody neutral in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 153?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 153, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the bill sponsor like any closing remarks? No, so thank you. I appreciate it. And at this time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 153, and we'll open the hearing on AB 391, which provides its provisions governing annual reports of accountability for public schools. Please begin when you're ready. Thank you. I'll give a moment to clear out because I see quite a bit of transition. And then begin when everyone's exited.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett, for again indulging me and allowing me to present two bills today. And again, thank you, members of the committee, for your consideration as well. Again, I am Brittany Miller, representing Assembly District 5, and now I am presenting Assembly Bill 391. Assembly Bill 391 revises provisions governing annual reports of accountability of public schools. As you know, Nevada's education system faces significant challenges that undermine student success and teacher retention, which increases pressure on our schools and frankly creates demoralizing narratives that doesn't acknowledge the hard work of our students and staff. According to Nevada's Department of Education, K through 12 schools experienced a 25.9% rate of chronic absenteeism in the last school year. As you all know, a student is considered chronically absent if they miss 10% or more of their enrolled school days, regardless of whether the absences were excused or unexcused. But research shows that missing 10 school days in math specifically is like missing the entire school year. Chronic absenteeism is not merely a statistic, it is a critical warning that can dramatically shape a student's academic trajectory. Consistent attendance is essential for building a solid foundation in core subjects, as well as preparing for professional skills, and these alarming rates of absenteeism signal a pressing need for targeted interventions. A Brookings publication, just one of multiple continual research on the matter, established links between absenteeism and student achievement, referencing absenteeism as a predictor of course failure and citing its association with lower achievement in reading and math. Assembly Bill 391 seeks to enhance the accountability and transparency of our educational system by refining annual reporting requirements to include detailed disaggregated data on student performance, including chronic absenteeism. This bill aims to provide a clearer picture of where our schools stand and where additional support is needed, to show how our students are actually performing under certain circumstances. This robust accountability framework empowers administrators, policymakers, and community stakeholders to make informed decisions, allocate resources effectively, and implement targeted interventions that will help reduce absenteeism and alleviate teacher shortages. Informed decisions, not based on narrative, but fact, not based on the mantra that we are the worst schools in the country. I promise you, most of our staff and students are working extremely hard, and too hard for these demoralizing comments or stigmas. Ultimately, Assembly Bill 391 reinforces our commitment to ensuring that every student receives the quality education they deserve and that our educators are equipped to meet the challenges of today's learning environments. Currently, public schools, charter schools, and the State Board of Education create annual accountability reports detailing pupil achievement and school performance based on standardized tests. However, these reports have not consistently provided detailed insights into the progress of all student groups, particularly those facing unique challenges such as excessive absences or receiving instruction from unlicensed personnel. Assembly Bill 391 addresses these gaps by revising the accountability reporting requirements for public schools, charter schools, and the State Board of Education to include disaggregated data on pupil achievement among students who have accrued more than 10 absences and therefore deemed chronically absent. We know that measuring student achievement should not be one-dimensional, meaning should not be based on one particular test during one snapshot of one school year, because the factors that go into student achievement are not one-dimensional. Factors such as effort, desire, focus, interest, aptitude, emotional or social maturity, trauma, a good night's sleep, a good breakfast, family upbringing, parental expectation, all of these things, and there are many more that impact student achievement. However, they are not quantifiable. Attendance is. Right now, I will refer to the conceptual amendment, and again, apologies because this was occurring late in the evening last night. What it does is it states for you that the information on the pupil achievement among pupil, that to basically separate out the scores. So when the schools, when the state are producing those scores, student achievement based on the SBAC or any other standardized test, that we can see the scores between students who had less than 10 absences prior to the administration of that test and students who had more than 10 absences prior to the administration of that test. The reason why I wrote prior to the administration of the test is because there's no, to capture absences that occurred after the test only skew the results. Also, there's no one specific day in Nevada that we take the test. There is a window, especially for our larger school districts, because especially Clark and Washoe, where you have, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of students, over 100,000 students trying to take a certain exam, it takes more than 1 or 2 days to get all the students in schools through it. Typically in CCSD, the window opens in March, and it's usually about a 6 to 8 week window. So again, we don't want to capture absences. There could be a student who had all 10 absences the day after they took the SBAC. Obviously, that's just going to skew what we're looking for. So it'll be prior to the administration of that test. I also wrote in the amendment that the amendment also removes the second part, which was to capture those students who have not had a licensed teacher for 4 consecutive weeks or more. Again, I brought this bill last session. Those of you who were here remember, you also sitting on education know the struggle that there are often students that don't have a licensed teacher, don't have a certified teacher, have a full-time sub. Full-time subs are not evaluated, so it's hard to really determine how well they're doing. And in worst case scenarios, because again, sometimes we have great full-time subs, sometimes we don't. Worst case scenarios is there is no full-time sub, and it's literally teachers having to sell out their preps. So every single day, that class may see a different teacher in that room. Again, all of that impacts student achievement, but that section was removed just based on discussions with the group of school superintendents and the technical challenges around gathering that information and the inconsistencies around certain business laws and definitions between schools and districts. So we are focused on the amendment on just the absenteeism. The other thing that I want to make sure that was covered in removed from the bill is that the way it was written, it talked about gender and such things like that, and that's absolutely not the goal. This isn't based on gender or any other factors, just whether the students are in school or not. I believe those types of statements are there in case there aren't enough students in a certain group to populate certain data, but obviously we have enough students that gender or any other factor does not need to be identified. In closing, by refining these reporting provisions, Assembly Bill 391 aligns Nevada's educational accountability measures with best practices, ensuring that we continue to uphold high standards in our public education system. The bill represents a proactive step toward nurturing an environment where every student has the opportunity to succeed, ultimately contributing to the state's broader educational excellence and future workforce. It also gives us an idea to see just how important school attendance is, the impact that it has on student performance, and of course, because again, we also have students that are doing extremely well, working extremely hard, but because they may be in a certain school, in a certain community, how demoralizing it is for these hardworking students, these high-achieving students, to also hear that their schools aren't any good and their teachers aren't any good and so on, as well as for our staff that continue to pour so much into their profession to only be berated and blamed for so many things. And so with that, also to support the idea that we need to be in school. With that concludes my remarks, so I'm open for any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. At this time, I'll go ahead and open it for any question, members. Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this. This disaggregation is something I do in my own gradebook for my own students, and I see huge differences between the students that show up and the students that don't. I think it's 80 or 90% of the students that are failing in my class are those that are chronically absent. And so I understand the intent here. My question is just on the process. I would imagine this shouldn't be that difficult to pull because we can pull this directly from Infinite Campus. Is that what you're envisioning for the process?
Yes, and speaking with others, the rates of chronic absenteeism.
Assemblymember, could you state your name for the record?
This is Brittany Miller for the record. This information is already available to NDE, unlike the other one, which would have created multiple steps and more technical challenges. But yes, they do have the rates of absenteeism. So, of course, it may require some process on the schools, because again, you have to, but again, I believe that NDE should be told which dates your schools are participating in these as well, so.
Assembly members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you for this bill, Assembly Member. It's just a clarifying question. Is the 10 absences prior to the administration of the exam because you want to capture who was absent 10 days before they took the exam?
Thank you for that question, Assembly Member. Brittany Miller for the record. It's not who was absent 10 days before the exam. It's who's ever had 10 absences throughout that school year before the administration of that exam.
Thank you. And along those lines, I do have a couple quick questions. So is the intent to capture unexcused and excused absences? And does it capture like school activities, or is it to capture those unexcused absences?
It's to capture either, both, or basically no separation between excused or unexcused. Because again, the bill isn't about making judgment calls on the reasons. It's not trying to, even solve that problem. It's to provide us with that data. And so, again, with the 25.9% that NDE said, that it doesn't matter, and the impact it has on education. It doesn't matter if it's excused or unexcused. We know there's a variety of very excusable, those of us who work in schools, we see a variety of very excusable reasons, and we see a variety of things that we would not consider excusable. But at the end of the day, they were either in school or they were not. So there will be no separation between those.
Thank you. And I did have. Thank you. Sorry, I was like looking through my notes for this bill. And so I do know that some of the testing, so an example would be SBAC testing is more than 3 weeks, sometimes, especially with testing and makeups because of absences. So I'm trying to understand whether or not this would be in place before the initiation of testing, recognizing that testing can go on for weeks on end, or is the intention of this piece of legislation 10 days at any point during that testing window?
Thank you for that question, Chair. Brittany Miller for the record. I believe it should stop when testing begins in that building, because as you stated, it goes on for weeks and weeks. But again, this is from the first day of school until testing begins at that school. Any students that accumulate more than 10 absences, whether they're consecutive, sporadic, but the only clean way to measure it is to just stop it at the first day of administration.
Thank you. I might have another question, but I just want to check if my committee members have any other questions. It doesn't appear so I will go ahead and proceed. So then I think my last question. I think that captures it for now. I might have one more clarifying question, so I'll follow up with you. But I do appreciate the intent of this legislation. Oh, I do remember. Is the intent for this to impact NSPF at all for like the school performance framework right now? Or is it just for us to capture the data right now so that we have the data, and then after reviewing this data within the next couple of years, then we would be able to revisit and determine whether or not there would be recommendations for any policy changes?
Thank you, Chair, for that question. Brittany Miller for the record. Yes, that is the intention. It is not to have any, as you stated, it is not to have any intention on the framework or the scoring of schools. I know that attendance is currently a consideration, a benchmark for the stars on our schools, but this is just for us to see the data and move forward with that accuracy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing this bill. At this time, I'll go ahead and invite anyone wishing to testify in support of this AB 391.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Brian Wallace, Wallace, a teacher here in Carson City and Vice President of the Nevada State Education Association. NSCA has been the voice of Nevada educators for 125 years in all 17 counties. We support AB 391 to require school districts to report on achievement data for those students who are chronically absent. As Nevada continues pushing forward with increasing demands for accountability in our educational system, it is increasingly important to continue digging deeper into the factors that impact student achievement. Student absenteeism is just one of these factors, with over 1/4 of Nevada students being considered chronically absent the previous year. Chronic absenteeism lowers academic performance as students struggle to keep up. Frequent absences creates gaps in their education, their knowledge, making it increasingly difficult for students to remain current, and it impacts their ability to access any new material. Students who are chronically absent are more likely to fall behind academically, become disengaged, and unfortunately, eventually drop out of school. Research continues to show that chronic absenteeism is linked to lower test scores and grades, especially as we've heard in reading and math. Students who frequently miss school leads to greater demands on us as educators to provide remediation while continuing to meet the needs of the rest of our classes. This adds responsibility, increases our workload, contributes to the stress we experience, leads to numerous frustrations and burnout when student progress is hindered by their inconsistent attendance. While Nevada has put much responsibility when it comes to student achievement on classroom teachers, including tying it to our evaluations and student growth, the reality is always more complicated, as we heard. By disaggregating this data by attendance, we will have better insight into the effectiveness of our classroom instruction and our student successes. This data will also give state and school leaders better information so they can adjust their efforts to reduce this chronic absenteeism that we are experiencing in the state. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Well timed, well timed. I do not see anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of AB 391, nor do I see anyone in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 391?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 391, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 391, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 391. I do not see any here in Carson City, nor do I see anyone in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 391?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 391, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral? Please begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Penny Brock, Pennybrock. I have a background in education. I started 2 private Christian schools in Reno. We had very few absenteeism. Why? Because the kids loved to come to school. They had an excellent academic education. They learned to read by intensive systematic phonics. They knew their times tables by 3rd grade. We taught history, American history, which they loved, and science. They were tested every year with the SAT, which is a very grilling academic achievement test. Most public schools don't give it anymore. But my kids, our students, they excelled. They loved their school. They loved coming to school. We have a huge problem across our nation. We're failing our children, our students, by not teaching them and equipping them to be part of the workforce when they graduate. It has gotten so bad that Donald Trump issued an executive order to abolish the Department of Education. It's coming back to the states. What is Nevada going to do to improve their test scores? We are at the bottom. Absenteeism is a part, but it's not the reason. I know that educators are trying to figure out why. Why are our kids not learning? And now they're grappling with absenteeism. That's not the problem. It's lack of true academic education, teaching the reading, writing, and arithmetic. Thank you.
Thank you. And because you expressed disapproval of the piece of legislation, we are going to go ahead and classify that as opposition. So I just want to note that for the record for our committee secretary. Please begin when you're ready. We are on neutral on AB 391.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski. That's Pierczynski. Mary is easier than that. Anyway, I'm here representing the Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we are in the neutral position at this point, but we want to thank Assembly Member Miller for the amendment. We spoke with her yesterday, and she brought forward the amendment today. We're neutral because we're just in the process of reviewing the amendment with our members, and so right now we're neutral and hope that we can get to that positive position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, I'll go ahead and go to Las Vegas, where I do not see anyone wishing to testify in neutral. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral to AB 391?
If you would like to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 391, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in neutral, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 391. Thank you. And the end of Assemblymember Miller Day has occurred. But no worries, she will be back sometime next week or the week after. At this time, I will invite Assemblymember Gonzalez. We will open the hearing now on AB 420. Please begin when you're ready. As a reminder to the members of the public, at some point, some of us may have to leave for different bill presentations and other committees. Please don't view this as a sign of disrespect. However, it is our responsibility to attend other committees to present this legislation. At that point, I will pass it over to Vice Chair De Silva, who I know will do a phenomenal job chairing this committee. Additionally, we are going to take 20 minutes in support, 20 minutes in opposition, and 20 minutes on neutral on this piece of legislation. And we will bounce back and forth between Carson City and Las Vegas and take people that are in person to testify before we move to the caller. So if my 20 minutes of support or opposition has been expended in person, then we will have limited or no time for the phones. So at this time, I'll go ahead and begin. Please begin when you're ready, Assemblymember.
Thank you so much, Chair. I do want to note that I have two presenters with me, no way from Make the Road, and then there should be a representative from the Secretary of State's office. I believe they are making their way here at some point. So thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. My name is Assemblymember Cecilia Gonzalez, representing Assembly District 16 in Southern Las Vegas. And I'm here today to proudly present Assembly Bill 420 for your consideration. The goal of this bill is to increase transparency and accountability in the use of force by police officers and employees within our school districts. Additionally, this bill seeks to also enhance civic engagement among students, providing resources to support voter education and participation. I'm sure some of you are reading this bill and probably thought to yourselves, wow, this is like very two different things. Well, we know the legislative process is very short with very limited resources. And sometimes we have to make, put bills in places to make it work. So that is how we came up with both of these bills. Some of you may have also read the language and know that this was taken from AB 217 to really address what we're trying to address in this bill. And so that's also for the purposes of that. In recent years, concerns have been raised about the use of force by school police officers, including chemical agents, for example, pepper spray, and electronic stunt devices against students. While police officers and district personnel play an essential role in maintaining order and security, it is also imperative that any use of force be documented, reported, and made transparent. That is the intent of this bill. At this time, I'm now going to turn it over to my co-presenter, who will really go through the origins, why it's important, and why we want your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Noe Orozco. That's N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O. I am the Government Affairs Manager with Make the Road Nevada. Just real briefly, in terms of police in schools, only Clark County and Washoe County are the only two school districts that have their own dedicated school police, as you all are very well aware. For the other school districts, they will rely on local law enforcement agencies, and that could also include having assigned school resource officers, or SROs. Because we're looking only at Washoe and Clark County, the entities that have the police departments, we were looking through both of those school districts' policies, and with Clark County School District Police Department, we come across GO 650.15. That's their general order. That's where it specifically addresses the use of force. So whenever there is any reportable use of force, there is a committee within that general order that reviews and evaluates whether the use of force aligns with the department policies, the general orders, as well as a Supreme Court case that specifically addresses the use of force. And the committee will essentially conduct everything internally. It will evaluate it, and then from there, there's a system that we saw through the general order referred to as Blue Team. And from there, the internal committee reviews it. They upload all the information, all the resources, body-worn cameras, reports, documentation that they are able to collect. They upload all of that into a Blue Team, and then the use of force committee captain ends up uploading that, the committee report. And then at the end of it, the final disposition or the resolution is basically made by the original chain of command. And that's how Washoe County, that's how Clark County does it. For Washoe County, we were unable to find any specific equivalent to like a Blue Team that Clark County uses. However, they do have a procedure. It is 22.07.1. And that one basically very similar to what Clark County does. Anytime that there is a use of force incident, it is investigated by a supervisor regardless of if there is a complaint that is filed or made. The supervisor will gather all of the statements, very similar to what Clark County does, and then from there they will submit a report to the chief of police, as well as a recommendation whether whether the use of force was appropriate. And then at the end of everything, the chief of police is the one who makes the final disposition. In both of those school districts, we didn't see that any of the outcomes of the investigations are not made public, and that's really what we're trying to get at with AB 420, where we recognize that some information may not be made available to the public, just like any business or company that has any disciplinary actions or files any complaints through their HR process. There may be some information that is not made public or forward-facing. However, there are some things that can be made available to the public, such as if there were to be the deployment of the pepper sprays, for example, in the academic year, if it was deployed 10 times. Of those 10 times, did they investigate it? Were any of those sustained, not sustained, or unfounded? This is more of the information where we're looking to see if we can get any of that, because currently the only way that any of this information is made available to the public is through public records requests. There was the last legislative session, the Clark County School District was able to provide a presentation where some of the information was made available. Essentially between 2019 and 2023, in terms of how they defined the use of force, they were referring to the deployment of OC, which is essentially the pepper spray. They were also referring to the deployment of tasers, the electronic stun phase, and then open hand, as it's indicating their hands, their physical body. But between 2019 and 2023, there was a little bit over 180 uses of force incidents, and had that presentation not been made to this body, we would have not known that that's how many uses of force had been incidents there had been between 2019 and 2023. We currently do have a public records request that we have submitted to Clark County School District because when the presentation was made 2 years ago, it was during the academic year, so it didn't capture all of the 2023 academic year. And so the public record request, I believe it was for the end of that year, as well as for the last academic year and for the current academic year, just so that we could see how often the police department is using force. And so essentially what AB 420 would be doing is that it would be requiring the police department, the school district police, to be able to submit a quarterly report to the Board of Trustees, where they would be outlining the measures that have been taken, the measures that the school police officers have employed, so that they would reduce the incident or even reduce any possibility of a disorder or disruption, and then any actions that may have been taken to either de-escalate or stabilize the situation so that it would not result in the police officer using the force, whether it's their physical force, tasers, or pepper spray. And from that, one thing that I do want to mention real quickly before I turn it over back to Assemblymember Gonzalez is when we were looking at the reports from the last legislative session, as well as the general orders and everything, the school district did indicate that more officers that are inexperienced tend to use more force, and from there, essentially, officers that have been on the police force between 1 and 5 years were the ones that were using force more often, and so that is part of the reason why we're looking at trying to have something be made public, made available to the public, so that we can see, where are maybe there are areas for improvement, ways that the police department is able to ensure that they are not only just keeping the students safe, but also, that the students are able to feel like they are able to learn, since that is the purpose of them being on campus. I'll go ahead and I'll turn it back over to the chair, to Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. Additionally, Section 2 of AB 420 establishes the Voter Access Grant Program administered by the Secretary of State to provide grants to counties, cities, and tribal governments. These grants are intended to support election administration and improve voter access throughout the state. The Secretary of State's office must also submit a report to the legislature on or before January 1 of each odd-numbered year, detailing grant applications and recipients and the amount of grants awarded, as well as the description used for the funds. Gabriel from the Secretary of State's office is down in Las Vegas. If he has any additional comments, Chair, if you will allow that. Thank you. Gabriel, go ahead.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gonzalez. Madam Chair, members of the committee. The Secretary of State's office is grateful to Assemblymember Gonzalez for including us and this grant fund in the bill. Elections are one of the most important duties that government has, but are historically underfunded at the federal level. The state of Nevada, in contrast, has invested heavily in elections in the last few years, including with AB 422 of the 2021 session, mandating the top-down VREM system, which we implemented this past election cycle. But there have traditionally been, or historically been, additional needs at the local level that the Secretary of State's office has attempted to assist with, either with the limited federal grant funds we have, or via other general fund appropriations or small charitable donations. We've helped counties pay for things like additional ballot drop boxes that they've needed due to the increase in mail ballots, ballot sorters, which allow them to process those ballots far more quickly, and other IT equipment that is necessary for the administration of elections, but that the county may not have been able to provide them. There are other costs that have been covered by other means that this grant fund would allow us to cover. There has been an incredible expansion of voting rights for Nevada's federally recognized tribes and bands in the last few sessions. One of the large problems that we've had is finding poll workers to work at these polling locations. Now, historically, it's a best practice for members of those tribes to be able to work as poll workers, but sometimes sometimes due to other commitments or due to the level of pay available for election workers from the county, those tribal members just aren't able to take on those jobs during those several week timeframes. This grant would allow us to provide grant funds directly to a tribal government so that they could supplement the county funds and pay their own tribal members to staff these election day and early voting polling locations, which would be great. This past cycle, the Secretary of State's office, we sent our own staff to make sure that those polling locations, some of those polling locations were open and could stay open. We think there's a better way to do it, and this grant fund would allow us to do so. Additionally, we received a small charitable donation from a Las Vegas charity, allowing us to conduct voter education text messaging. For example, when there was a ballot misprint in Carson City, the Secretary of State's office was able to send out text messages to all of the voters that we had phone numbers for, letting them know that they'd be receiving a second ballot in the mail, and that if they, if they haven't returned a ballot yet, please return the second ballot. If they've already returned their first ballot, that's fine. We'd prefer they return their second ballot as well. That kind of direct communication to voters, working with the counties, is incredibly important, especially as elections get faster and faster paced. So we're very excited at the opportunity of being able to accept funds to subgrant to counties for these needs, these basic needs that will help counties better administer elections in Nevada. And again, very grateful to Assemblymember Gonzalez for including it in the bill. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, we are available for any questions.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, we'll start with Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for bringing this. So I just want to make sure I understand the amendment correctly. So when I look at the original Section 1.1, the data you're looking for applies to Clark County only, and it mentions both the Board of Trustees and charter schools. In the amendment, I don't see the part limiting it to Clark, and I don't see charters mentioned. And so I just wondered if that is a change or if that just maybe was a drafting error.
Thank you so much, Cecilia Gonzalez, for the record. We did remove that part for Clark County because Washoe County, to my understanding, has a police department as well. So we want to make sure we're including all police departments throughout the state in terms of this data. And then correct, we're just talking about that in my office that we were trying to figure out. We're still having conversations with charter schools to know what they're doing. I do know that this bill definitely needs some more work that we're working on. You will hear some opposition today as well. And so I appreciate the question. And it is our intent to include charter schools as well.
Vice Chair, can I just have a brief follow-up clarification? Thank you so much. So then, to clarify, it is meant to apply to basically all of the public schools in Clark and Washoe, and you're just working on getting there.
Cecilia Gonzalez, for the record, thank you for the question. The intent is to include all school uses of force on all campuses in all 17 counties. However, Washoe and Clark are currently to my understanding, the only school districts that have actual police departments that would be able to provide this data. Like I said, we're still having conversations with charter schools. Every charter school operates differently, private schools, things like that. So just trying to massage that language to make sure that we include them. However, if we do need to just start with Washoe and Clark, I'm open to that as well.
Vice Chair, if I may, please. Noel Orozco for the record. And just real quickly, that's why at the very beginning I did mention that although Clark and Washoe are the only ones that have the police department, the other school districts, from what we were able to see, if they do have any sort of cooperation with local law enforcement, they end up assigning the school resource officers. We did a little bit of the research there, and we were able to find that almost every single school district has a school resource officer, but there were a couple of school districts where we could not identify any, and if you would like, we could definitely follow up afterwards to letting the committee know which of those school districts we were unable to find the school resource officer.
Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to clarify, you mentioned a few stats, so I was writing notes. You might have clarified this more. So 2019 to 2023, there were about 180 force events, which could be a combination of pepper spray or tasers, that sort of thing. And that was just for Clark County?
Noel Orozco for the record. Yes, that is correct. That was just for Clark County School District.
Okay, and so when I did the math, that's maybe around 2 a month that we're looking at. So the bill is not doing anything to prohibit the use of these types of force, right?
Cecilia Gonzalez for the record, correct. The bill is not limiting use of force. It is not changing any policies around use of force. It's simply asking for a declassified, disaggregated report in which the public and students and parents can look at and say, hey, this school had this many uses of force, or this school had this many uses of force, right? Because as of right now, a person would have to submit a public records request. Like we stated at the beginning of our presentation, we have submitted one to the district. We are still waiting to have that information as well.
Thank you for that. And so the information is there, right? We're just trying to make it more publicly available, not have to do these certain requests. So we do have that data. Because I think we're trying to find the sweet spot, because we know last session we dealt a lot with juvenile discipline and the climate of the classroom, and that our teachers and our students have felt unsafe, and we need to kind of get a little bit more control of the classroom. And so, I'm doing this. Like, I want to ensure that we have safe schools, and that those that are disrupting, and unfortunately hoping not to have to use these measures, but obviously we are having to use them, but making it publicly available. So if that's the intent I'm getting comfortable with, I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Thank you, Cecilia Gonzalez for the record. Yes, that is absolutely the intent. In our conversations, CCSD School Police already has these reports. They conduct investigations. It would just be making these reports available as of right now. To my understanding, these reports go directly to the superintendent. We don't know, does that mean if the person was fired? Does that mean if it was 3 times that they have used use of force, right? Like, we don't know what those qualifications are for that report to get to the superintendent, and then what does the superintendent do with that information? We don't know. I do agree. I think that this is part of that public safety school conversation in which people want to feel safe, right? And again, if somebody is using use of force, whether it's pepper spray or other things, repeatedly and often on certain demographics of students at certain schools, this is conversations that we should be having on what are those resources that those schools need to mitigate having those interactions with students.
Noel Orozco for the record. And then just to quickly add on that, so in the 21-22 academic year, there was about 90 total use of force incidents. And from there, 52 of those were the deployment of the OCs, or the pepper sprays. And this is just from the information that was provided by the school district in the last legislative session. About 30 of those 52 were in the first 2 or 3 months of the academic year. And going to what Assemblymember Gonzalez is saying, like, that they didn't provide any further information as to, was that in certain part of the school district, was it in specific schools, was it high schools, middle schools, elementaries. And so that's really what we're trying to find out. Like, if you're saying that there was 90 total use of force incidents and 52 of those were the deployment of the pepper spray, and all 50 and about 30 of those ended up happening in the first 2 months of the academic year, like, we would just like to see, like, what is going on there, and like provide a little bit more information, more context, so that the public is able to get a better grasp as to, like, why the use of the deployment is being so high in the first two months of the academic year.
Thank you for your indulgence, Vice Chair. And on that, in relationship to these, I'm thinking, as you were speaking, sometimes I have a concern that there's going to be sensitive information, and that's why you have to do this formal request, so that personal information, whether about the student or about the law enforcement officer, is that going to be protected if we're making things public? Is that some of maybe the pushback, that are we going to protect somebody's privacy?
Cecilia Gonzalez for the record. Thank you so much for the question. Yes, the amendment does state declassified, so it should be declassified data as well as disaggregated. So something that we experience in the AA and HPI community a lot is we classify everything under Asian, but we know that certain subgroups have certain stereotypes, if you will, about them, or they're treated differently. But when we don't disaggregate data, we can't see what is actually happening. And so that's why the disaggregated part was there, breaking it down by race, we don't necessarily want to put the school either, but was it a middle school? Was it an elementary school? Was it a high school, right? And so we definitely want to protect the students, the families, the school, communities information. And so we just want the declassified information.
Next, we'll have Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time finding the correlation between the two parts of these bills. I'm under the impression that, as long as they're semi-related or under the same section, we can add them together. One of them is minors who have had a show of force against them, and one of them is of voters, which would be people over 18. So I think this question is probably more for legal, but how are these two related enough to put in the same section? And if not, I think I just found a way to submit 20 bills next session instead of just 10.
Thank you for the question, Cecilia Gonzalez, for the record. Schools are used as voting sites, and so that was kind of the connection that we had, that these officers would be potentially the same officers or security that would be patrolling when we're using them for voting as well. And so this is an overall conversation of not just our families that go to these schools, but the general public, because we use schools for different things like voting as well on the weekends, things like that. I can definitely pivot to legal if they would like to answer as well.
And a quick follow-up. So this isn't going to only be at schools. This is going to could be throughout the whole community, though, too, right?
Cecilia Gonzalez, for the record, what do you mean by this?
So you said that the correlation there is that we will be doing some of these voting places at schools, but this isn't limited only to schools. The voter access grant program can be throughout the community also, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
I will punt it to legal now to give you the legal analysis of your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So generally under the Nevada Constitution, bills are required to embrace only one subject and the matter properly connected thereto. In the case of this bill, the single subject for the bill is governmental administration, and the single topic, and I should take a step back. Not all of the material in a bill has to be related to each other, as long as all of the material is related to that one constitutional single subject. So in this case, the single subject of this bill is governmental administration, specifically issues relating to elections. And the two different parts of the bill, I think from Section 2 onwards, all clearly relate to elections. The material in Section 1 relates to elections in two different ways. One, the way mentioned by the Assembly member. The other, in Section 1, subsection 4, all of this collection of data and then reporting is required to be published by the Board of Trustees of a school district within 30 days before the date of the next election. So all of this reporting requirement is still tied to elections, and that all of this material is required to be collected and then published as material available for voters for the next election for the Board of Trustees for the relevant school district. So all of the material does relate back to elections. There's just a little bit of a roundabout way of getting there in Section 1 because the data has to be collected to then be available to be reported before the election.
Thank you. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but congratulations for fitting that in there.
Next, we'll have Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for the presentation. You had mentioned about disaggregating the data on all these reports. Will there be an ability to identify not necessarily exactly who the individual is that's being disciplined, but knowing each individual person, and are they a repeat offender?
Cecilia Gonzalez for the record. I don't think I quite understand. Are you asking if there will be a way to identify if the student was having multiple uses of force on them?
Yes.
No. This is just in regards to data on uses of force, so it's not asking for any student information in terms of what they did. More so, it's asking for the race, the gender, possibly the age of the student. So again, being able to identify, is it at an elementary school? Is it at a middle school? Is it at a high school? And things like that.
Well, thank you for that clarification, though I do think if a school is actually dealing with a repeat offender, you're going to get a higher rate of instances than you would otherwise. And so that might actually be relevant data.
Thank you so much for your commentary. I did not think about that. Appreciate it.
Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So my question is about the Voter Access Grant Program. So it talks about the Secretary of State may award a grant to an eligible entity for, and then it lists some options, and then D says any other project, program, or expense that they determine to be eligible. So I'm just kind of going through thinking that seems like a lot of discretion for them. And then on the front end, is it, say the city, county, et cetera, is applying for a grant, do they have to say what they want it for, or is it on the back end they say, oh, well, we used it for this? So I'm just kind of wondering how this all works.
Thank you so much. I also have Mark Velashin here from the Secretary of State's office that I will phone a friend to.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. Mark Velashin, my name is spelled M-A-R-K, last name W-L-A-S-C-H-I-N. When it comes to grants, again, not only does the bill suggest regulations to provide clarity, not only for members of the public to understand how the process works, but also for election officials. But essentially, yes, the way it works now is that election officials will essentially identify a need. Historically, they look internally first to see if it can be addressed through county funding. If they can't address it through county funding, they'll talk to the state about potential grants, such as the Homeland Grant Security Program. And then beyond that, there's also the Help America Vote Act grant. So it is a starting with the requirement first, typically tied to cyber or physical security, or otherwise language access, accessibility, those sorts of things. But it does in fact start with the requirement first, and then we look for sourcing funding sources from there.
Gabriel DeCara, Chief Deputy Secretary of State for the record. And additionally, the bill calls for a report to be issued by the Secretary of State's office, listing what these purposes were. So understanding that last condition can seem overly broad, what we don't want is for a county to have a need, but that need not being, directly addressed currently in legislation. I can assure you, yes, it would be tied to the necessities of election administration. It would not be for pool parties for election workers, although maybe next session we'll bring that one around. But there would be a report released to the legislature and the public saying this is, what the counties applied for, what they were granted, the outcomes of those grants, what they were actually able to fund, et cetera. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So I actually wanted to ask about the same section, so I appreciate you staying up here. I just wanted to get some clarity. So now if the counties reach out and they have an unmet need, or the tribal governments reach out and they have an unmet need, you can help them match with federal funds, but otherwise you're constrained. You're not allowed to share any state funds now without this grant program. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Mark Velashin for the record. Essentially, yes. There are specific things in statute and regulation that the state is able to pay for, typically through reimbursements to county and city election officials. But beyond that, there's not a pool of funds. And in many cases, there are legitimate needs that are identified across our state relating to the execution and enforcement of Title 24 that unfortunately go unmet simply because of that lack of funding.
Are there any more questions from the committee? Okay, at this time we'll have our presenters step back. We will hear testimony on this bill. Testimony will be limited to 20-minute windows for support, opposition, and neutral, with 2 minutes per person. We will start here in Carson City, followed by Las Vegas, and then the phones. Please keep remarks to the point and remember to state and spell your name for the record. First, we'll hear testimony in support of AB 420. here in Carson City? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Okay, AVH, is anybody on the phone in support of AB 420? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you would like
I'm
to,
sorry. I think we see somebody in Las Vegas. We'll go to Las Vegas first.
Good afternoon, Assembly members. I am Flor Diaz, a Nevada resident, as well as a youth organizer with Make the Road Nevada, and I am here in support of AB 420. I am speaking for not only myself, but on behalf of the youth I represent. Youth who deserve to feel safer in their schools and communities. Many of the young people I work with already face systemic challenges, and the use of force, especially without proper oversight, only adds to this. Youth are asking for accountability. They're not saying that these tools should never be used, but that when they are, there must be a way to track it. Transparency is the bare minimum. No one is prohibiting the use of taser or pepper spray. This bill simply assures that every incident is reported and reviewed. This is a step towards creating safer environments and rebuilding the trust between communities and law enforcement. I urge you to please vote yes on AB 420. Thank you.
Las Vegas, testimony and support. Can we have your name for the record and spell your name, please?
Yes, sorry, Flor Diaz, Flordiaz.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have somebody in person here in Carson City, but because they're not here at the moment, I think they're using the restroom. We'll go to the phone lines first and then come back to Carson City.
if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 420, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 420, please press star 9 now. Vice Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, next we'll go to testimony in opposition for AB 420. We'll start here in Carson City.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Adrian Hunt, ADRIAN-HUNT. I'm a detective with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, representing the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We are in opposition to AB 420, particularly in light of the recent conceptual amendment that continues to reference the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We believe that the provisions outlined in this bill overlap with practices our agencies is already in full compliance with. And to our knowledge, as a transparent agency, we remain committed to complying with all applicable laws and fulfilling any legitimate requests for information. However, we find that the language in this amendment may unnecessarily duplicate existing protocols and could place undue burden on our operations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and Committee. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I am the Legislative Affairs Director for the Nevada Republican Party, today in opposition to Assembly Bill 420. The Nevada Republican Party strongly opposes AB 420. AB 420 includes provisions regarding school police reporting. However, the most concerning aspect is the creation of the Voter Access Grant Program. This Voter Access Grant Program is vague and lacks transparency, oversight, and accountability necessary for any program that handles public funds. With the possible enactment of AB 420, the Secretary of State would have unlimited discretion to distribute taxpayer money to eligible entities for election-related expenses such as voter outreach and education. The problem lies in the fact that these activities are often carried out by left-leaning partisan organizations. AB 420 does not provide clear guidelines to ensure that the funds are used appropriately. Without checks and balances, this opens the door to potential fraud, waste, and abuse, as politically biased groups could receive taxpayer funding under the guise of promising voter access. Also, the creation of a voter access grant program that lacks transparency and accountability could undermine public confidence in Nevada's election processes. For many Nevadans, the confidence in our elections is low. If taxpayer dollars are funneled to politically motivated groups without proper checks and balances, it will only generate more distrust and doubt in our elections and further deepen divisions within our state. We urge the Assembly to reject AB 420 and vote no on this bill. Nevadans deserve a fair, transparent, and accountable election system. AB 420 could pose a threat to the integrity of our elections, and we must not allow public funds to be used this way. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Janine Hansen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. We are concerned only with the Section 2 of the bill about the way that the Secretary of State will have voter access grant program. I was happy to see in the bill where it limits that just to counties, cities, and tribal governments, because without that limitation, we would be extremely concerned about how the money could be used. Because if you look at Section 2, Section 3, under 2, C and D, it says programs for voter education and outreach, any other project, program, or expense that the Secretary of State determines to be eligible for the program. That is extremely broad with no limitations, and I think that it could become a problem when a Secretary of State who is a partisan officer, who is always a member of a particular political party, may deem how to give those grants out and who would get the money. If he's unhappy with what some conservative rural county like Elko County might be doing, that could be a problem. We see no oversight provided in the bill for the Secretary of State. We see no check on what his abilities to can do with the grants, and so we'd like to see better transparency and also some kind of oversight or input from someone as to how the grants are used. But I am happy to see that it is limited, because if it weren't limited to counties, cities, and tribal governments, I would be even more opposed than I already am. Thank you.
Hello, Vice Chair and committee members. I have a little bit of a hoarse voice, so I apologize for that. Thank you for today. My name is Nancy Recker. That's NancyRoeCker. And I totally agree with what I just heard from the two prior people who testified. I'd also like to add that I have a different concern. And here's what it is. The summary for Bill AB 420 describes it as revises provisions relating to governmental administration. It references the BDR used by the Legislative Bureau as BDR 34-538. However, in the BDR listed on the Nevada Legislative website, BDR 34-538 is described as revises provisions relating to elections. AB 420, Section 1, revises NRS Chapter 391. This chapter addresses personnel under Title 34, Education. AB 420, Sections 2, 3, and 4 seek to revise NRS Chapter 225. That chapter addresses the Secretary of State under Title 18, the State Executive Department. One bill addressing two completely different subjects under two completely different NRS categories, to the point that Assembly Member Koenig made. So Article 4, Section 17 of the Nevada Constitution mandates each law enacted by the legislature shall embrace but one subject and matter properly connected therewith, which subject shall be briefly expressed in the title. The Legislative Council should not honor a request for the drafting of a legislative measure which has been combined in violation of Section 17 of Article 4 of the Nevada Constitution. So this validates...
Thank you, ma'am. Your 2 minutes are up. Would you mind submitting your written remarks to the committee secretary?
Yes, I will.
You.
Thank you.
And then also, I believe that our council did address that question, or that testimony earlier today. Thank you.
Penny Brock for the record. I agree with the person that just spoke, as well as the previous two speakers. The reason being is I appreciated the legal counsel's opinion, but it was just an opinion. I feel like in America, some other attorneys may take issue with that opinion. Number two, in the Nevada News and Views today, it had this great picture about this very subject. They called it the slush fund politics. AB 420 gives the Secretary of State a blank check. That's very concerning to us as taxpayers. A blank check with no accountability. Who's going to get the money? Will it go to the leftist voting rights groups? What was interesting today is President Trump he's doubling down to secure elections. He had all the 50 governors at the White House in February, and he told them, we are going to go for proof of citizenship for elections, voter ID, one-day voting, and paper ballots. I'm expecting any day an executive order to come out. There is a draft of a bill in Congress to mandate paper ballots, voter ID, and so on. It's coming. What will this mean for Nevada that has universal mail-in ballots, the electronic voting system, et cetera, et cetera? So I would ask that, it's too bad that this was tacked on to this education bill. That wasn't right. So I feel this bill should be voted down because someone, I believe, is playing
Thank you, ma'am.
games.
Your 2 minutes are up. Please submit any additional comments to the secretary. Thank you. And now we'll go to Las Vegas for testimony in opposition.
Good afternoon. My name is Jenny Evangelista del Rosario, GENYEVANGELISTA DEL ROSARIO. The way I say this bill is it addresses a bit unconstitutional. It's because one bill addresses two completely different subjects, and that was already addressed. So the Legislative Council shall not honor a request for the drafting of this legislative measure, which has been combined in violation of Section 17 of Article 4, which is already addressed, which is good for validation. So the drafting of this AB 420 bill violates both the Nevada Constitution, the statute just quoted by the previous who testified. This matter must be taken up with the Legislative Council and this bill must be withdrawn. I oppose for the moment until it's further revised. My name is Jenny Del Rosario. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to testify. Have a great day.
My name is Ed Euling, U-Ed-E-D, Euling, U-E-H-L-I-N-G. And this is so incredibly wild that this bill deals with problems in the school and then gives a slush fund to a very unreliable public official, the Secretary of State. Just look at what happened in the last election. He took it upon himself to decide that we had to limit the number of people on the ballot. And so that's why you saw all the nonpartisan people go through hell in order to be able to appear on the ballot. Robert Kennedy had to, well, he wasn't nonpartisan, but he was in opposition to the Secretary of State. He had to file twice, spending millions of dollars to refile on the papers that he was given by the Secretary of State. The same with Jill Stein. Millions of dollars having to redo papers that they were given by the Secretary of State. In my case, I paid my $500 to appear on the ballot. On the day before, we had until Friday to submit signatures. We have to gather signatures since we're nonpartisan. On the day before Friday, they announced that that we were going to have to turn in the ballots that very day, Thursday, because the people here in Las Vegas don't work on Friday. That disturbs the whole collection process. Then the Secretary of State denied a number of my signatures because the people had moved within the same district. And so I
Thank you,
I
sir.
couldn't appear.
Please
So
submit the rest of your written comments to the secretary. Thank you.
well, why won't you let people
We have a 2-minute
discuss
time
the
limit,
whole
sir.
thing?
We have a 2-minute time limit.
You've spent lots of time.
Sir, we have a 2-minute time limit. We've been abiding by that time limit. Please submit your written comments to the secretary. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's absolutely disgusting what this Secretary of State has done already.
ABH, can we
giving him
cut the mic
funds.
off? We got to move to the next testimonial. Thank you. Okay, so we've had about 16 minutes of opposition testimony. We'll move to the phone lines now. Thank you.
You would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 420, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 420, please press star 9 now.
My name is Janet Campbell, JanetCampbell. I strongly oppose AB 420. There are two major issues with this bill. First, this bill covers two completely different subjects, one under the rubric of governmental administration and one under provisions of relating to elections. The Nevada Constitution, Article 4, Section 17 mandates that each law enacted by the legislature shall embrace but one subject and matter, properly connecting therewith, which subject shall be briefly expressed in the title. In other words, we could only have single subject bills. For this reason alone, this bill must be withdrawn. The second major issue is outlined in Section 3. It establishes the Voter Access Grant Program for the Secretary of State to hand out money in the form of grants to eligible entitlees. The purpose of this program would allow the Secretary of State to pay for supplies and equipment, give extra pay to his employees, pay for voter outreach and other projects Secretary of State determines to be eligible. Nothing is off limit. In addition, Section 4, subsection 2 states the Secretary of State may apply for and accept any donation, gift, grant, request, or other source of money for deposited to the account. And once the money is deposited, is therefore and cannot revert to the state general fund. This borders on the subversive. This is extreme and outreach by Assembly Member Gonzalez.
Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony. Please submit the rest of your testimony by emailing the secretary. Next caller.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next caller.
Article 4. Oh, excuse me. Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Gifford, ELLEN, GI, double F as in Frank, ORD as in David. Article 4, Section 17 of the Nevada Constitution mandates that each law enacted by the legislature shall embrace but one subject and matter. NRS 218D 100 mandates the Legislative Council shall not honor a request for the drafting of a legislative measure which has been combined in violation of Section 17 of Article 4 of the Nevada Constitution. Any bill that combines multiple subjects violates the Nevada Constitution and the statutes just quoted and must be withdrawn and addressed by the Legislative Council. Thank you.
AVH, next caller. And also, callers, any testimonial is a reminder that we have a 2-minute time limit on these testimonies. We want to hear from everybody, so please abide by the 2-minute time limit. Thank you. Next caller, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Lorena Biasotti. I'm a CCSC trustee speaking for myself today. I have to agree with the previous comment. This bill is wild. I agree with the first section, which addresses investigations into the use of stun guns and chemical agents on students by the police. However, the connection you try to make into our elections makes no sense. The second part of this bill opens the door to significant corruption. Why should the Secretary of State, an office so vital to the integrity of our elections, be the one to decide who receives grants and how much they get? I admit when I first read this, the first thing that came to mind was, a slush fund for nonprofits like Make the Road Nevada. And they're co-presenters of this bill. We elect you to ensure that taxpayer dollars are spent responsibly, not to allow them to be misused by funneling them to the Secretary of State, which can then choose organizations like the one already chosen here today. Allowing the Secretary of State responsible for overseeing our sacred elections to distribute funds to organizations that are personally selected using their own criteria undermines the very integrity of the process. This bill is fraught with potential for fraud and appears intentionally misleading. The entire bill seems to be a drafting error. You would have had to do some serious mental gymnastics to tie this into an actual valid concern for our students. Please withdraw this outrageous bill. Thank you.
AVH, next caller.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Jane Davis, calling from Nye County, and I'm a concerned citizen regarding this bill. To spare you repetition of all the reasons to oppose this bill, I ask you to please consider withdrawing this bill. It is very chaotic and it is confusing. It should be divided into two separate bills if this is something that you wish to address. I personally feel that this is strongly about withdrawing this bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, and I am very strongly opposing that bill. When I was told about this bill, I thought I will be listening for election bill, and then when I was listening to the presentation, the whole time I was thinking, am I listening to the wrong bill? And why is it election bill in the education committee? What does that have to do with education? To me, education committee is about educating our kids, schools, universities, and things like that. What does the education committee have to do with elections? And if it does, they shouldn't be on one bill anyway. It was so confusing. I was listening to the whole presentation, the whole time thinking and texting people and asking them, am I in the right place? Because that's supposed to be an election bill that I'm going to listen to, and all I'm hearing is about pepper spraying kids at school. So it was super confusing. Please withdraw that bill. You guys, that's your job. We expect that you will take care of that. I'm just super confused. They don't everything everybody says in opposition, and pretty much probably whatever they're going to say after me. Please withdraw that bill. Don't let that bill go further. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you for your testimony. And at this time, we'll go ahead and close opposition to this piece of legislation, and we'll go ahead and move on to support. I understand we didn't have time for support earlier, so we'll go ahead and move to support. And we will begin our 20 minutes of support. The time right now is 2:43. I'm sorry, how much? And I know we had one in support and we had a couple others that had to exit the committee room for a moment, but I understand that you're back. And so we already had 2 minutes of support. So we will begin again with the remaining 18 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Yvonne Meneses, IVONMENESES. I'm a proud parent of a CCSD student. I'm here to show my support for AB 420. As a parent, my child's safety is the highest priority. Schools should be places of learning growth and opportunity, and something like voter education is important for our youth. I urge the committee to pass AB 420 and send a clear message. In Nevada, we protect our children and believe in an exclusive democracy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, chairs and member of the committee. My name is Mary Wagner, and I'm here today in strong support of SB 420. I know that fraud and abuse has been brought up, and I want to remind this committee that these are buzzwords that are recklessly thrown around these days. I also want to remind you that SB 420 does not prohibit the use of force. It simply requires reporting, promoting transparency, which protects both our children and law enforcement, strengthening our justice system, and reinforcing our shared commitment to fair and safety for all Nevadans, including the most vulnerable in our communities, our children who don't have the right to vote yet. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Audrey Pearl, AUDREYPERAL, and I would just like to ditto the last two comments.
All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and close support because I know that we have already gone to Las Vegas and we have already gone to the phones. And we will go ahead and open and by anyone wishing to testify in neutral to AB 420. I do not see anyone in neutral here in Carson City, nor do I see anyone in Las Vegas in neutral. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral to AB 420?
If you would like to testify neutral for Assembly Bill 420, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Cyrus Ojadi, I support the education component, but not the election component. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead. Mr. Haddadi, I think that was. Could you please spell your name for the record?
Cyrus Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and classify that testimony in opposition because they did have an issue with the piece of legislation. Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral, which means that you have no stance, no support, no opposition of any parts of the legislation? You just have information that you would like to provide to the committee.
Chair, there are no other callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. And I will invite the bill sponsor. I was looking for you in the crowd. I'll invite the bill sponsor for any closing remarks. Thank you.
Cecilia Gonzalez for the record. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's thoughtful questions in the committee. I do know that we will be working on an amendment to massage some of that language and some of the concerns and opposition testimony that you heard. Thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing the discussion offline with all of you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 420. All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and open up the last item on the agenda, which is public comment. As a reminder, each person has up to 2 minutes to provide testimony. Public comment may be submitted to the committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. Once you have hit your 2 minutes, I will ask you to move on to the next speaker. If you have written remarks, please make sure those are submitted to my committee staff. I ask each person that testifies to please state and spell their name for the record. Do I have anyone wishing to testify in public comment? Please begin when you're ready.
My name is Sia Li'ili, spelled Sialliii. I urge you all to please hear AB 240, which will ensure that no female athlete is put in harm's way on the court or field. Uncomfortable and vulnerable spaces like our locker rooms where biological males are currently allowed. Lose out on scholarship opportunities and give us the power to champion our sports again. without having males who have a biological advantage. In the 2024 NCAA Division I Mountain West Conference, San Jose State rostered and started a transgender athlete. As the captain of the University of Nevada volleyball team, my teammates and I had the tough decision of taking a stand in the name of women's sports. Considering the reasoning of fair competition, biological differences, and ultimately the loss of an opportunity for female athletes. According to a study performed by the UN titled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports, as of March 30th, 2024, over 600 female athletes in more than 400 different sport competitions have lost more than 890 medals. As a female athlete that has been directly impacted by the participation of transgender athletes in women's sports, I ask you to end this now. Please protect the future generations of female athletes from the mental, emotional, and physical warfare many female athletes have had to go through already. My question to those who want to diminish the opportunity for this bill to be heard, or even would vote against this bill, is how many more female athletes are going to have to get hurt, forfeit matches, lose out on scholarships, undress in front of men in their locker rooms, and even see full male genitalia involuntarily before you do something? How would you feel if it was your daughters, nieces, and even grandchildren being faced with this situation? Please allow for a hearing of AB 240. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joseph Baptist. Joseph, common spelling Joseph, Baptist, Baptist, like the major religion. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Yerington Elementary in Lyon County, Nevada. I am here today, I was brought here today by the Nevada State Education Association. I'm also vice president of my local union, the Lyon County Education Association. Any comments that I make today that seem like they might be outlandish or anything like that, please take them as my personal comments and not those of any of those organizations. I've worked in K through 12 public education for the past 2 decades and have been teaching here in Nevada since I moved here in 2017. In my first career, prior to becoming a teacher, I served in the U.S. military, where we were always challenged to do more with less because our mission was critical and our level of dedication was so high. I have a 40% service-connected disability because of my dedication to that critical mission. I have friends and family who ask me why I'm proud to be a Nevada educator and even why I chose to move here, given that Nevada regularly ranks 49th out of 50 states for education spending. My simple answer is, even though we are that far behind, we still typically rank 43rd, 44th for academic achievement. That tells me that I am working with people who think that our mission is critical and we do more with less. However, there are costs for that. We see those costs in teacher burnout. We see those costs in people leaving education in Nevada.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know you have written remarks too. If you could please make sure my committee staff get those, I'd appreciate that.
Sorry
Thank you.
if I slowed down.
No problem.
Good afternoon. My name is Kendall Lewis, KendallLewis. I'm a student athlete attending Galena High School, and I am also a part of the Lieutenant Governor's Task Force to protect women's sports. I have worked very hard to put in the effort to get to where I am now in volleyball, a starter on my high school varsity team. When I first started playing volleyball 3 years ago, I never thought I would have to play against a biological male, considering when I signed up to play girls volleyball, the description seemed pretty clear. 12 girls playing on a team together with no male strengths going against them that would add a risk factor beyond the norms. However, a few weeks later I found out me and the 11 other girls on my team would be competing against a biological male. Experiencing this firsthand, fear had run through our bodies since we knew how it creates an uneven playing field and puts us at danger because of the upper hand males naturally have. It is scientifically proven that males are stronger, the vertical is higher, and their agility is much faster. Some of the balls this male athlete hit were hard to pass due to the power behind the swings. Confusion was another feeling we all had that day. The question of why the school and school district would allow a biological male to compete against us was a common thought we all shared. As a female playing in a women's sport, I should never have to worry about my safety or the safety of others on my team because a biological male is allowed to play against us. This is unacceptable for men to be in female athletics and to compete at a woman's level of sports. Athletics already come with a safety concern, and adding in the risk factor of a male competing against women increases the dangers. It's heartbreaking to see a male take away women's opportunities in sports, whether it be a spot on the team or a scholarship to play at a higher level. Women's sports were created to provide opportunities for fair competition among female athletes in their division. Although my time playing volleyball is almost at an end, I still have a battle to fight for future generations of young female athletes. I'm blessed enough to have the opportunity to stand up here before you, and I will do everything I can to fight for women's sports and making them safe for the future generations. It is time we step up and take a step for what we know is right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Please hear AB 240. Hi, my name is Ava Chavez, AVACHAVEZ. I am in 7th grade. I go to St. Albert's, the Great Catholic School. I have been playing volleyball for 6 years now. Volleyball is my passion, and there's nothing else I would want to do besides this sport. Being a volleyball player means that I must always be grateful, even if you're a starter or a bench warmer. I have a dream to be a D1 volleyball player at the University of Georgia or the University of Hawaii. Last fall, I had to compete against a boy multiple times. The only thing I could think about was, what was their next move going to be? Or could I receive what play he was making? Or even worse, was I going to get hurt from his hit or his serve? This is very important to me because I play libero, whose job is to take the most hits. Because I was playing against a boy, he took my mental focus away from the sport I love. Watching Sia Li'i, senior team captain of Nevada Volleyball, having to go through her last season and having to fight for her and her team's rights was sad and inspiring at the same time. Watching Sia gave me the courage to speak here today. I want to help keep my sport that I love fair and safe for me and my teammates. Right now, we are being impacted by adults making the rules. These adults should be protecting girls like me, but they aren't. So I'm calling upon you as leaders for me and my teammates and future girl athletes who are also dreaming of becoming a D1 volleyball players. Please don't let our dreams be given to boys. Change the laws and protect our sport.
Hello, my name is Miles Shaner, SHANOR, and I am an aspiring educator who grew up in Clark County, but I attend the University of Nevada, Reno to become a public school English teacher. Alongside that, though, I'm a paraeducator in the Title I school in Washoe County, and I speak to you primarily as such. I'm calling for the amendment of Assembly Bill 398. To recap, this bill allocates more funding for teachers in high-need areas. As a paraprofessional, I am asking us to extend that funding to those of us who are education support professionals, counselors, one-to-one paraprofessionals, etc. I work in a primarily after-school.
I really do appreciate your testimony, and if you'd like to talk about education matters, feel free. However, AB 390 is not in our committee, so it's not within the purview or the scope of this committee. So if you would like to talk about education overall, please feel free to continue. But if it's specific to that bill, it's not within the scope of our committee.
I apologize. Thank you.
My name is Grace Nielsen, GraceNielsen. I'm a 14-year-old competitive swimmer for Reno Aquatic Club. I'm speaking to ask for your support of AB 240. In the past years, the topic of trans women competing in women's sports has grown near to my heart. Because of this, I firmly believe that you cannot say you support women and girls when you value trans athletes come from more than our own. By supporting trans athletes, you take away so much from the progression of women's sports in even the past 20 years. Youth sports provide a safe environment for young girls to learn the dedication, resilience, and hard work that they have to put in to achieve goals. I know that without my sport, I would lack many of these crucial skills that make me a better athlete, let alone person. This is why I know it is necessary to protect women's sports from men competing or sharing spaces with female athletes. You might say it is irrelevant, given that this is not that common of an issue. The way I view it, it is not that common of an issue yet. When is the line going to be drawn to protect female athletes who have already been robbed of scholarships, been vulnerable in locker rooms, and have had to compete in unfair circumstances against biological men? This is why I am so passionate about this issue. I do not want to have to feel unsafe or threatened in a locker room or shower. I do not want to have to stay silent and compete in unfair circumstances. I do not want to have to be overlooked in my upcoming high school swim seasons or hopeful collegiate swim seasons because I lost to a biological male. This is why this is an immediate issue. I only have 4 years in high school, along with many other girls around my age who only have 1 or 2 left. And we should be respected for the work and dedication we put into our athletics and our chances of success that stem from that. I ask you to please understand the timing relevance of AB 240 and to look at this issue not under the lens of a political agenda, but through the lens of girls like me who care about our athletics almost more than anything. Please put us first. We are the ones affected by this more than anyone. Support AB 240 to provide and ensure the future of women's sports. Thank you for listening.
My name is Madison Hodge, Maddisonhodge, and I'm here today to ask for your support on Bill AB 240. I currently play volleyball, however, I grew up competing in many different sports, including soccer, swimming, and jiu-jitsu. I'm lucky enough to have never been forced to compete against a biological male, but I'm here to join the fight for those who have and for the future of female athletes like myself. Girls should not be competing against biological males. It's unsafe, and it puts girls in a position where they are scared to step on the court and fear they could get severely injured. Males are biologically stronger and bigger than girls, which is why we have separate sports in the first place. For example, the men's volleyball net is 7 inches higher than the women's for a reason. They can jump higher and hit harder, and putting them at a women's net gives them great dominance over the women on the court. Any male that is playing on a women's team is stealing an opportunity from a woman. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to play at a high level, and it is unfair that women who work hard to get there are getting opportunities stolen by biological males. I understand the need for equality, but what about the equality for women and girls? I ask you to support our right to an equal playing field.
My name is Isena Allen, spelled Aisena, Allen, and I'm a 13-year-old competitive gymnast from Sparks, Nevada. I am an 8th grader student at Sky Ranch Middle School. I'm writing to ask for your support on AB 240 as fairness in women's sports is so important to me. I've been a gymnast since I was 4 years old. I love the sport of gymnastics because it challenges me every day to be at my very best. I get to prove to myself that I can do hard things. My goal is to compete at a collegiate level just like my sister. I have had the opportunity to watch her and her team qualify for nationals. How unfortunate would it have been if they didn't make it to nationals because they had to compete against a biological male? Males were born with the high level of testosterone, which makes them stronger and more muscular. Boys don't belong in girls' sports. It isn't fair, and allowing males to compete in female sports gives them a major unfair advantage. Please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who are working hard to achieve their goals. Thank you for your time.
My name is Michaela Kelly, Mikayla Keley, and I'm a 16-year-old gymnast from Sparks, Nevada. I'm currently attending Spanish Springs High School as a sophomore. I've been doing gymnastics since the age of 2, and I've been competing competitively since the age of 5. I'm reaching out to ask for your support for AB 240, as I strongly believe in equal opportunity for women's sports. Ever since I was a little girl, I've dreamed of becoming an NCAA D1 gymnast. I have dedicated to training since the age of 5, and as of now, I spend more than 20 hours a week practicing. As a young female athlete, I've always aspired to be like role models in my sport, like Simone Biles and Jordan Childs, but I couldn't imagine looking up to a male in women's gymnastics. In the past few years, we have seen biological males competing in women's sports. You may be thinking that there's no problem with this because it's including everyone, but with that, we can see that it's changed women's sports. As we know, men have a different hormone buildup in females that cause them to generally be stronger and gain muscle faster. So even if a male converts to a female, they still have more strength and muscle, causing an unfair lead for them. This also affects females when trying to excel in their sport, but getting beat by a biological male. Another concern is with contact sports for women, to be hitting head-on with someone that has the build of a male could be very dangerous. This limits the safety and opportunities presented in sports. For example, in the NCAA for women's gymnastics, there's already a limited amount of spots available, and with the new rule change, there's even less spots. And if a male took my spot that I've been dreaming of my whole life, I would be absolutely devastated. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I ask for your support in the AB 240 to help older young girls who are passionate about the sport like me. Please hear AB 240. My name is Amy Lunsford, AYMEELUNSFORD. I am 12 years old, student athlete from Reno, Nevada. I believe girls' sports should be fair. When I watch men's volleyball, I see when they serve the ball over the net, it goes over in a blink of an eye, and it is so fast. When they hit with a lot of force, it goes straight down. They move so fast and they're very strong. In women's sports, the pace and speed is different. I play volleyball. My dream is to play volleyball in college and some point in the Olympics. It would be so unfair if a biological man takes my dream and my spot in a women's team. Boys and girls are built differently, and that's why we have separate teams. If boys are allowed to compete in a girls' sport, it takes away opportunities, and it can easily get us hurt. They can easily make teams or earn scholarships that girls work so hard to earn. We can still include everyone in sports while keeping girls' competitions fair, but girls still have their own spaces to compete fair and square. Please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who love sports. Thank you for listening. My name is Riley Rolson, RILEYROLESON, and I am 12 years old. I am an athlete and student at St. Albert the Great Catholic School in Reno, Nevada. I am speaking to ask you to support AB 240 because I believe girls' sports should be fair. I play volleyball and basketball, and I love it. It is so fun to be around girls, and the atmosphere is just so amazing. Sometimes I think sports can be unfair, but I get through it and just forget about it. But how would you feel if you were playing volleyball against a male athlete? Could you imagine the fear of getting hit by a powerful ball? Well, you shouldn't have to even think about that, but we have to. Boys have been playing in girls' sports more recently, which they shouldn't be. Boys and girls are built differently, and that's why we have separate teams. If boys are allowed to compete in girls' sports, it makes it harder for girls to win, make teams, or earn scholarships. We can still include everyone in sports while keeping girls' competitions fair. One idea is to rename boys' sports as an open category so everyone can play, but girls still have their own space to compete. Please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who love sports. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
My name is Taylor Fewins, TaylorFewins, and I am a 17-year-old level 10 gymnast in Sparks, Nevada. I am currently a senior at Spanish Springs High School, and next year I will be attending Springfield College as part of the gymnastics team. I'm speaking to you to ask for your support on AB 240, as protecting the integrity and fairness of women's sports is important to me. I've grown up in the sport of gymnastics. I have dedicated 12 years and counting to this amazing and fulfilling sport. I love the daily challenge of the sport and how each day is different. I'm extremely proud to be able to do skills only a small percentage of young girls and women can. I'm lucky and proud to be able to say that I have accomplished my goal that I've had ever since I was a little 6-year-old girl, being a college gymnast. If my spot had been taken by a male, it would have been extremely unfair and would have crushed me. So far, us female gymnasts have been lucky that no male has tried to compete as a woman. However, if society keeps going down this path, it won't be long until it does. This tragedy has already affected many in swimming, wrestling, volleyball, basketball, and track. Boys do not belong in women's sports because they are biologically different no matter what they do to change. Their bones and muscles will always be bigger due to the effects of puberty on their bodies, giving them an extreme advantage over women. Imagine if your daughter, sister, or teammate got second to that of a man, their incredible record was beaten by miles, their spot on a team was taken, or their career was cut short due to an injury caused by a man. How would it make you feel? This seems unimaginable. However, these events have occurred to many girls around the U.S. So I ask you to please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who are and have been working their whole lives to achieve their goals and dreams. Thank you for listening.
My name is Brooke Rolson, BROOKEROLESON. I'm 13 years old and I am a student athlete from St. Albert the Great Catholic School who lives in Reno, Nevada and is in the 7th grade. I'm speaking to you to ask for support on AB 240 because I believe that girls' sports should be fair. I play volleyball and basketball and love the sports, whether it's playing or watching them. As someone who has played the sports since 5th grade, I have truly loved the sports and I hope to continue playing the sports. I have played 2 club volleyball seasons at Silver State, now known as T Street, and 3 CYO basketball and volleyball seasons at my school. I have enjoyed the sport with my friends and hope to continue playing with them. But if my opportunities as a female were taken away from me by a biological male, I would be devastated. This is why girls should have their own league and that we shouldn't be able to play sports and not have the fear of being injured by a biological male, which we shouldn't have to worry about in the first place. The reason why girls and boys are separated in sports is because boys are genetically stronger than girls. If boys were allowed to compete/participate in girls' sports, it would become harder for girls to win, make teams, or earn scholarships. This doesn't mean that boys and girls can't play together and enjoy a sport with each other, but girls should be able to compete in their own league without having biological males join their league. Boys and girls need to be separated for safety and the protection of girls being able to have the same opportunity to win, join a team, or earn a scholarship that isn't taken away from them by a biological male. Please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who love sports. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Reagan Christensen, ReaganChristinsen, and I'm a 14-year-old competitive gymnast from Sparks, Nevada. I'm an 8th grader at Sky Ranch Middle School, and I'm writing to ask for your support on AB 240 as fairness in women's sports is so important to me. I've been a gymnast since I was 4 years old. I love the sport of gymnastics because it challenges me every day, and it's so fun to do all the crazy tricks. It's my dream to earn a D1 scholarship and compete at the collegiate level when I graduate high school in 2029. I have been working hard to one day achieve this goal. If a biological male were to take my spot on a roster, it would be extremely unfair. Males are built differently than women, which makes them stronger and faster. Those are biological facts. We are lucky in gymnastics that this issue hasn't affected us yet. But in sports such as track, swimming, volleyball, basketball, and wrestling, this is an issue now. Boys don't belong in girls' sports. It just isn't fair or right. What would you tell your daughter if a biological male took her place on a team? Please support AB 240 to protect girls like me who are working so hard to achieve their sports dreams. There is a place for everyone in sports, just not girls' sports. Thank you for listening. My name is Anya Lopez, Anyalopez, and I'm a 12-year-old athlete in 7th grade in Sparks, Nevada. I'm reaching out to seek your support for AB 240 as I strongly believe in promoting fairness in girls' sports. As Level 9 gymnast, I have aspirations of becoming a student athlete and competing at the NCAA Division I level. I've been dedicated to training since the age of 5 and have been actively competing for the past 6 years. Alongside my academic responsibilities, I commit 20 hours per week to training. Boys and girls are inherently different, which is why we have separate teams. Allowing boys to compete in girls' sports deprives girls of opportunities to compete and hinders our ability to reach our athletic and academic goals. Being a competitive athlete offers benefits that extend beyond the point itself, the sport itself. It helps us stay physically fit, disciplined, and focused. Through sports, we also have learned valuable skills like time management and emotional regulation, which are crucial for success in life. While I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to develop these skills, fairness is essential, and allowing boys to compete in girls' sports is not fair. Boys' bodies are biologically different than girls. In athletic competitions, boys usually outperform girls depending on the requirements of the event. This has become more evident over the past couple of years where biological boys have defeated top-ranked females in swimming, boxing, cycling, tennis, track and field, and various other sports. This should not be allowed to continue as it takes away opportunities from girls. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I strongly believe, and I ask that you support AB 240 to protect girls who love sports like me. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Eddington. It's JordanEddington. I am a senior a senior at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I am currently doing my internship in Washoe County. I am also a member of the Nevada State Education Association, but I am speaking as an individual today. While I have been completing my internship, I have been working more than full-time hours while being unpaid. I love everything that I do as a student teacher, and I cannot wait to start my profession after graduation. I believe that passing the plan for optimal public school funding will give all students in the state of Nevada a high-quality education. I have lived in Reno, Nevada my entire life, and one of the most distinct things my teachers would always say is that they would have to buy materials with their own money. I have seen that this is still the case with a lot of educators. Our students are our future and should be treated as such. In my internship, I am fortunate that there are only 18 students, and because of this smaller classroom size, I am able to have a more one-to-one interaction with these students. Additionally, the students themselves feel more heard and can have a voice in the classroom. However, if this classroom had more than 20 students, it would be harder to make connections with my students. In return, the students would not be learning to their fullest potential. Please help us pass the plan for optimal public school funding. Thank you for your time.
Jessica Glover, JESSICA GLOVER. Hello, Council, women and men. My grandmother, my belated grandmother, Mary G. Reinig, World War II Air Force veteran. My grandmother, she told me to stand for what I believe in. And I'm so proud of the young women that came before us today and stood for what they believe in their sports. For their biological reasons, let's support AB 240. 20 hours a week that they're going out of their way, out of their academics, doing something that they love. I support AB 240. Thank you.
Hello, Assembly members. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Allura Addington, and I'm here for NSCA, and it's overall education statement, so nothing specific, but just an overall statement. My name is Allura Addington, and I'm a fourth grade teacher in Lyon County. I have taught for about 10 years in Washoe and Lyon County. I have had joys for my job, but also felt many frustrations, as I'm sure you guys have felt as well. Our kids and our educators deserve better. We need to pass the plan. Passing the plan would ensure educator retention and reducing class sizes, respecting our educators and our paraprofessionals, shooting for optimal funding for education, and schools over stadiums and studios. So more money per pupil means we can reduce class sizes, reduce stress for our educators, and bring performance up by serving our community. Optimal funding would be ideal to keep teachers and allow our students to thrive, not just live in survival mode. We need better class sizes so our students can receive quality education and our teachers don't feel overwhelmed. We do not want to be last in the country. We want better for our educators, our students, and our families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no additional public comment here in Carson City, it appears that I do have one individual wishing to testify in public comment. Please make sure you state and spell your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Yes, my name is Ed Euling, Uehling. And what impresses me about this meeting is the degree which politics makes people hypocrites. You can easily see the difference between Bill 390 and
Excuse me, sir. We're not talking about how this meeting was run. But at this time, public comment is an opportunity for you to talk about issues that pertain to education. So if you would like to talk about something that relates to education in the state of Nevada, please feel free. But otherwise, I will have to move on.
Okay. I as a member of the LGBT community, I can see what all these students are talking about. It's so logical that men should not be allowed to compete against girls. But so many people, the politicians can't see that. because they're infected by this disease of politics. And we've seen it in other cases here in this meeting, where you can't distinguish bill number 420 that discusses education and the safety of kids.
At this
kids in
time,
school.
sir, I am going to
And
move on because we are not discussing 420. And so now you're going back to a bill that has been previously discussed, and per the committee rules, we cannot continue that conversation because the hearing has been closed. If you would like to send additional remarks to the committee, please feel free to do so in writing. AVH, at this time, do we have...
so I can't comment on education.
No, sir, because your testimony was going off of
the
that.
horrible things that are going on in Nevada education, and that apparently your committee is supporting. I can't talk about that.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Thank
420.
you. Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and cut the mic right now, and we will go ahead and go to the lines.
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, and I want to say to the young ladies that were speaking.
Can you please state your name? Can you please spell your name for the record? Thank you.
Katrin, like Hurricane Katrina, no A at the end. Ivanov, I, Victor, Apple, Nancy, Oprah, Frank. Okay. So, ladies, I am so proud of you. It's not easy to come up and talk, especially in front of adults, especially people that are, your future is in their hands. I'm going to share an advice that I have been given by Riley Gaines. It's not easy we following for the language they want us to use. And you can take it or leave it. But in the future, if you can try to use only the word male or a boy, because they want on purpose to use the word biological male. There is only 2 genders. Thank you, President Trump. There is male and female. The fact that they have to qualify transgender female shows that they're not a female. So if they're not a female, by the process of elimination, they're a male. They use language to...
Ma'am, do you have anything to say
and,
about education? If you do, please proceed.
Yes, I wanted to say that I'm very proud of the ladies that took the time to come to talk in front of you, and I would beg you to please hear AB 420. As it stands right now, it's 80%, 84% actually, in support of the bill, and I don't see that bill scheduled for a hearing. So I wanted to ask you to do that. And also, please concentrate on bills that will help all Nevadans and would make sure that we don't lose federal funding. Bunch of the bills you're trying to push right now is going to make us lose federal funding. I understand that most bills are written prior to President Trump winning. Thank you, Jesus. However, the Nevada Legislature should pivot to protect Nevadans and make sure that we don't find ourselves losing federal funding.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next caller, please.
Hello, my name is Lorena Biasotti, Lorena Biassotti. I'm a CCSD trustee speaking for myself. I want to commend the beautiful young ladies who came up to courageously speak on AB 240. You're all absolutely right. It is our job as adults to make sure you're safe and protected, and I am so sorry that our legislators have failed you. But we are still working and trying hard to correct these mistakes of allowing boys to unfairly compete with you in your sports. Please don't give up. President Trump is working hard to correct these wrongs, and I, too, am doing my part. Thank you.
Chair, there are no other callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. Seeing no additional public comment at this time, I will just move to committee members and remind them that we do not have a meeting scheduled this upcoming Thursday. I hope you enjoy the time off because the rest of the meetings will be very packed. And so with that, this committee is adjourned.